What's up, guys? Pittsburgh White Shorts back with another deck tech. Today we're going to be going over Madoka Magica, my favorite anime, Carmen, of all time. And this is just with the new set that came out. For those of you who don't know, Madoka is also getting another set release this year, in a couple months, which is going to be what is it? Magia record based off the anime. There's two Magia
the
record
anime
sets.
set. Mhm.
There's this one that just came out, the same time as ReZero. This one's based off the mobile game. And then a couple months we're getting the anime one, which adds a lot of really important cards. So it kind of feels like one big expansion, but we're getting it in two parts. But I've been waiting a long time to play Madoka. I've had some of these old Homura and Sayaka and Kyoko cards sitting around for like 2 years, and we finally got the set in English. So I'm not waiting any longer. I'm not waiting 2 more months. So I threw together this sick little deck. We're gonna have we're gonna put the deck list on the next slide before we get into stuff. If you're here just for the deck list, that's cool. Just leave us a like on the way out. Really helps. But yeah, getting into the deck list, we're gonna have like a broad overview here. I'm running a combo, which I think is probably like the highest ceiling. How would I put it? Like the highest ceiling, most potential combo you could run at level 1. Which is this. I don't know her name. She's not in the show. She's one of the side characters. But it's a massive stock charging combo off of the bag climax.
It's really impressive how you managed to fit like all of my trigger words in one sentence back there. That was really nice.
Oh, okay. I mean, it was a run-on sentence. That was like a long one. A lot of commas in there. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's like the meta combo for the set, but I think it's the one that has like the highest ceiling. If it's and it's just definitely more interesting than what would be the meta build. The meta build just running like a normal Shimakaze. But I will have a link to that in the description as well. But anyway, let's get into the deck. So starting at level 0, this is what we're using for our plussing zeros. We have 3 of the Futaba and 1 of the Surino. These kind of both fill the same role, but as you saw on the slide before, the deck is massively green, and I need blue and yellow for my early plays. So that's why you kind of see the awkward split here, because I was just trying to like even out the ratios, and at the end, that's what it worked out to for me, is 3 of the Kirika and 1 of the Surino. Although if you were to change ratios around or whatever, these cards are like interchangeable for each other. They do basically the same thing. They're just big and live back to your turn. Next, we got the Homura Riki. I have 3 copies of it, and 4 of this Ayame Mikuri. Yeah, I don't know who this character is, but you can pay 1 and sacrifice her. Look at 4 cards from top of your deck for a magic character and add it to your hand. This effect, I'm going to be honest, is not very good, and I don't want to be playing this card in the deck, but it is a necessary part for the stock charging combo. It is one of the combo requirements, so we have to play it. I guess, it's a 2500 beater, can get over some stuff. It's not quite an oversized, but sometimes it'll live back to your turn maybe. And once the next set comes out, the anime set, we are getting a clean cut in Madoka, so that'll be some nice synergy there. If you wanted to run this combo still, you can attack with this and clean cut it to the back, ready to use the effect on your following turn. Then rounding out level 0s, our utility cards. I got 3 of the Sana Brainstorm. There's a few different options you can run for Brainstormers in New Madoka, but this is the only good rest self one. So running the Sana has a not very useful first effect, but it is a salvage Brainstorm. 1 copy of the Drop Searcher, which is yellow, and 2 copies of the Sayaka and Mami card, which is on play you get a scry, so look at top card, put it either on top of your deck or onto the bottom of your deck, and when it attacks, you reveal top card of your deck if it's a character, draw it, and then discard a card. So nice little filtering card. The main reason I'm running it though is because it has Sayaka on it, who by the way, waifu show, my favorite character from the show, but that's not the only reason I'm running her. There's some very powerful Sayaka cards that require you to have Sayaka characters on your field, so this is like one of the flex spots where you can fit in an extra Sayaka card or 2, level 0. And the filter effect's going in it too, so not really bad to have. Moving on to the big discussion card of the deck, I guess, is this Konoha Shizumi. This is on attack, it gets 1,000. If you have the climax, it gets 1,000 power, so with the climax, it's swinging for 7k, like most on reverse combos. And when you reverse your opponent, you get to selectively stock 1 copy of the Ayame from earlier. And if you want to go to the next card, Carmen, this Hazuki. So when you reverse your opponent, you get to stock those exact 2 cards from your waiting waiting room to your stock in whatever order you want. Really nice selective stock effect in the sense that you're not like blindly putting cards in from the top. Like you always know what's going in there. And I guess a plus side is the Hazuki and the Ayame are both cards that you don't really want to be seeing later in the game. So kind of like get some out of your next deck. And if you're able to get one or even two of this level 1 combo off, you're generating so much stock and you'll just be set for the rest of the game. Since it's not a plussing combo, because it's not like adding something to your hand on reverse, we do need to be able to pay out some of our stock. We need to have ways to turn our stock into cards. So a few ways to do that. Of course, like you probably want to be brainstorming once or twice per turn. This is probably like a 2 brainstorm per turn deck. But there's also the Homura Riki from before, and then another deck searcher that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But yeah, the only reason there's so many copies, because you and me were talking about this earlier, Carmen. You're like, why don't you like cut the ratios of like the Hazuki and the Ayame? And I initially did do that. My first build of the deck, I was running like 3, 3, and 3, I think. And I just found myself in awkward positions where getting double combo was hard. Like if your opponent leaves you 2 reverses, I feel like I want to be able to get 2 reverses because the stock charging effect is actually very powerful. But to be able to consistently have the exact 2 targets in your waiting room to stock can be tricky that early in the game. So running 4 copies of each of the targets makes it so that you should hopefully always be able to double combo if the opportunity presents itself. If anything could get trimmed from the package, I think you could trim one of the combo card itself, one of the Konohas. I think you could run like 3-4-4. But if you're interested in throwing the deck together and trying it, I would definitely start with like 4-4-4 and maybe trim back from there. And then this other card here is the Sworn Promise Homura. If you have 2 or more other characters, it sits at 5,500 power. And at the beginning of your attack step, this is a cool one. If all of your characters in your center stage have the same level, this card gets the JC effect. So what that is when your opponent attacks one of your other characters, you can pay 1, sacrifice as Homura, and return the attack card back to your hand. Extremely useful effect. This is a really good like 3rd row at level 1 when you're going for your climax combo. You get your 2 reverses, hopefully with your Konohas, and then you throw this Homura in the 3rd lane, and then on your opponent's turn you can pop the Konoha back to your hand, and then hopefully next turn you can like pay out 2 cards you stocked for some sort of plus, and then combo again. That's pretty cool when that happens. But just in general, the level 1 Homura JC is one of the payoff cards for going into green with Madoka. So definitely something I wanted to include. I don't think you need a 4 of, and I definitely don't have room for 4 of it in this list, but in other Madoka lists you might consider running 4. Moving on to level 2s, I have 2 copies of these My Role Sayaka. This is a double rare from one of the original Madoka sets, and it's worth about 50 cents. I think it's the cheapest double rare that exists game, which is pretty cool. But anyway, it is level assist, so 500 times the level of the character to the cards in front of it, and it has an activated ability. You can pay 2 rested to search your deck for a magic character. So this is the card I was talking about earlier, where we can start turning the stock we get from the Konoha into select cards of our choosing. We can just get anything out of our deck, which is nice. And that's why I'm running this level assist instead of like another level assist. I was originally running the what's it called, the Jean d'Arc, the 2-1 that can heal itself to your memory. But the fact that this gives you like a payable stock out to like turn your stock into cards is important, but also because it is a Sayaka character is also important. For the next card I'm going to talk about, Sayaka's Wish. It is a counter event where when your opponent attacks, or I guess on your turn if you want to, you can choose one of your Sayaka characters and send it to your waiting room, and if you do, you heal the top card of your clock to your hand, and then this event goes and chills in your memory. Yeah, this card was like a really big deal back when Weiss Schwarz like first came out, and Madoka was one of the only sets. Madoka was considered to be like a really good deck because it had this card, a really good healing compression tool, and denies your opponent's reverses. But generally the original set didn't keep up in terms of power level, but it has some new support in this set, so definitely a card that you want to be running in Madoka, I think. Even though we only have a couple copies because we don't have too many Sayakas in the deck, still a very powerful card for denying your opponent's reverses, healing and compressing you. Moving on to some level 3s now, and one more level 2 that we have left over. Last card at level 2 is this Exterminating Nightmares Kyoko. She's a 2,500 anti-change counter, so pay 1 for 2,500 power, and you can pay an additional 2 and sacrifice sacrifice one of your characters to anti-change one of your opponent's higher level characters to their waiting room. This kind of functions like a third copy of Sayaka's Wish in the sense that you can like, it's another sat counter you have. And it's also something you can search up to defend your early plays with. It's the only counter in the deck, so it kind of fills a dual purpose there. And then on to level 3s, I have one copy of this new story Homura. It has an early play condition, but I'm not early playing it in this deck. I'm running it more for the other two effects. During the attack phase, no other characters on the field can move, so it keeps your opponent from running away from you during battle, or using something like a mobility gear or something to get out of the way of your reverse. This matters for the finisher combo, which is an on-reverse burn combo. So this is only in the deck as a one-of because this card's in the deck as a one-of to help ensure that the Madoka finisher is able to get its reverse and burn the opponent, as well as having a top check 3 effect for us to draw into the Madoka or the gold bar climax if we don't have it. So just a really solid one-of all-arounder that can serve multi-purpose at level 3. Getting on to the more important level 3s, we have 3 copies of Mercenary Felicia and 2 copies of New Story Sayaka. These are the early plays for the set, and luckily for Madoka players, the 2 good early plays that the deck wants to run came out in the first set. So we have our good early plays at this point. I don't think there's another one that came out in the anime set. Is there, Carmen?
Not that's relevant. These are like the 2 big 2.
Yeah, these are the 2 big early play options that came out in Madoka. The Felicia is your standard early play healer, 2 or less climaxes, early plays, heals on play. But its power effect's really good. It gets 1,000 power for each card in your backstage. So sits at 11,000 power cross turn. So really good to use a backup on and easier to defend than a lot of early plays. The Sayaka is a bit more interesting card. If you have 4 or more magic characters, you can early play it. So ideally you'd be playing a Felicia first and then the Sayaka. On play, it gets plus 4,500 power, and neither player can use backups in that lane till the end of your opponent's turn. So it sits at like 13,500 before any other assists. So your opponent's probably not getting over it. But for whatever case, if your opponent is over it, this card has another effect. When you play it, you can discard a card and grab the Sayaka's Wish event from earlier back from your waiting room. That's why we're able to run like so low on the counts of Sayaka's Wish and this Sayaka, because this always grabs the Wish. So even though we don't have a lot of Sayakas in the deck, we do have consistent access to the Wish event.
Notably, it's just backup, so you can still play counter event even on that same turn.
That's a good point. I was going to forget to mention that. I'm happy you brought that up. Yeah, backups and events, backups and counters are like they're the same thing, but they're different. So your opponent can't use power backups to try to beat your Sayaka in combat, but you're still able to use the Sayaka's Wish event card because it's not technically a backup, it's just a counter. Backups are only characters, so you can still use your event that you grab with this card to save it or to heal and sacrifice it in combat. And then final card in the deck is the finisher, offering a hand Madoka. This is very similar to the Yukina finisher in Bang Dream. Gets 500 power for each of your other characters, heals on play, and when you reverse your opponent, you pay 3, discard 2 cards to clock kick your opponent and deal 3 damage burn to your opponent. It really is pretty similar to Birdcage Yukina. I don't know the numbers. I didn't crunch the numbers, but I think they're like about the same in terms of damage output. Clock kick, burn 3, and burn 2 are pretty equivalent. But yeah, Yukina's a good card, and this is just the most stable finisher that Madoka has at the moment. Being off of gold bar is also really nice, considering our level 1 combos not plussing. So being able to consistently get into our combo at the end of the game with the gold bar trigger, or just to be able to plus early is really nice. And even though you need a reverse for this card, the Sayaka's Wish package can play into that pretty nicely, because if your opponent attacks one of your lanes with a big Sayaka in it and is going to try to crash out their field, you just sacrifice the Sayaka and then you have a reverse for next turn with this Madoka.
Clock kick deal 3 is also just more consistent than Yukina's burn 2 somehow. You're at least guaranteeing 1 damage, and 3 is a good number. So and it's off bar, so you don't have to worry about not having your climax. You'll trigger a bar eventually.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big exclusions from the deck, if just looking at the deck list, just the whole deck list again, we were talking about this earlier, but I don't have the Free Fresh Homura level 2 in there. That is not a mistake. I chose not to run it. How should I put it? I don't think Madoka is a deck like Fate, where you need to be free freshing like every single deck, like every single time. At least not in its current form. Once we get the anime set for Magia Record and get access to the other Brainstormer and some of the other synergies of being able to consistently go through your deck and refresh every turn, that will change. But I think at this point, it's not necessary to run the free fresh. In the other deck list, I'm linking in the description here, which has a selective level 1 combo, I am running the free fresh as we have more consistent access to it, but it just didn't really seem worth running as a one of in this list where I don't have a selective level 1 combo. So I'm running the Homura and the level 3 Homura in that spot.
Yeah,
but if you wanted to,
you'd have to like pay too much stock to mill, and then you'd have to like then after you've milled down somehow get the card with either a drop search or like pray to hit off a brainstorm. Not like the new deck where you're like confirming 5 to 6 card brainstorms every turn, where you can like always get it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Free Fresh is a great card. It's one of the best cards in Madoka and one of the reasons you would consider playing the set. And if you like this deck list and want to try to fit a Free Fresh in, you could just turn the level 3 Homura into the Free Fresh. Maybe one of the Sayaka back rows if you want a second copy. But that's just like my reasoning for not running the card in the deck, because I know you were asking me about that earlier when I showed you the deck list originally.
I just saw so much green and didn't see it, so I felt like I had to ask.
But anyway, that is the deck list, guys. Thank you so much for watching. The Encore decks link for this is in the description below, as well as if you want something maybe a little more stable, what I would consider to be a more meta build for Madoka, I'm going to also have that link below. I just figured this would just be the more fun deck to talk about, because that combo is pretty cool.
As always, going to run down these real quick. Card Games Discord, if you want to talk about Weiss and stuff like that. There's a Card Games Discord and the competitive Weiss Schwartz Discord. If you want to catch games, talk about Weiss, whatever, maybe buy Weiss, something like that. There are channels for that in those Discords, but if you're really looking to buy and sell Weiss, you should check out the Facebook groups. There's a global community and the NA community, depending on where you're located. Definitely give those a look. There's also weissfight.net, if you're familiar with Dueling Book, if you played Yu-Gi-Oh! At all, it's kind of like that. It's a in-browser Weiss simulator. If you're looking to catch some games with someone or try out a deck that you might not have all the pieces for yet, definitely give that a look. It's really fun. It's really easy to use and a lot less of a headache to set up than TTS, because you just jam an Encore Decks link in there and you're good to go. There's nothing else you have to do. Nothing you got to set up, nothing you got to buy. So definitely give that a look. Later this week, we're going to have our ReZero Frozen Bonds deck tech go up, so definitely give a look for that. And we have some more deck techs, and they finally announced new stuff. We got Sao Alice 2 that we're going to set review in the future. Definitely keep a lookout for that. Slime after the set gets released and everything in JP, so we can pull all the cards. We'll definitely do those as well.
Those are two like real big ones.
Yeah, and then of course, 7 Deadly Sins. When we see the cards for that, we'll have that up there for you. But English releases were always going to be post-release because we don't see all the cards until they're all out. So just kind of how English goes. But yeah, I think
maybe we'll do another like live stream for that. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun. The last one was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think that's it. Pittsburgh White Schwartz signing off. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.